Hi YouTube! I really love PowerApps and the way it makes it possible to transform my ideas into great apps. When I started building PowerApps in the beginning of 2018, I noticed that finding good sources on smart building solutions for PowerApps was very hard. That's why I started making videos of my own, to share the things I learned when working with this great tool to the rest of the community. If you enjoy my video, then subscribe to my channel, so you will get notice when I post other videos. And of course like the video so other people who are trying to learn PowerApps will be able to find them. In case you don't know me, my name is Paul Kroon, and now let's go on to PowerApps to learn some stuff. Okay, in this video we're gonna look at UserForms. And I think every application needs UserForms, so we are able to control what a customer or the user can do. So basically in every application I use UserForms, and I thought like make a video on this. And in this video I'm gonna use the enhanced grouping like I discussed in the previous video, and you're gonna see how you can use the new grouping to your advantage. So let's go to PowerApps, and what we basically gonna do, we're gonna make a group for the UserForms, and in that group we're gonna make a group for a UserForm base and for every UserForm we want to build. And in those UserForm 1, 2, 3, we basically just gotta put the controls we want to show in our form. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna use enhanced groups. We're gonna use just one variable to control all the UserForms and also the UserForm, the base. We're gonna use the in operator a lot, and you're gonna see why I'm gonna use that in this particular case. And probably we're gonna use the visible parameters. So we're gonna connect two controls to each other and say if the one is visible, then we want to show the other. Okay, let's start. You see here in the top I got 4 buttons, and let's see if I control. And let's take this and put this in the bottom. And I do this later, I'm gonna put them in the top again, but I do this because my UserForm will contain the whole screen except for the footer. So I will be able to click these buttons even if the UserForm is visible, so I can show you what the buttons will do. So let's start. Let's first select the screen and say we're gonna insert a group, and let's call this group, rename UF, so UserForms and 1. And why do I use the 1? Because this UserForms, this group, I want to be able to copy and to use and at other screens. And when you copy this one, and it's a little bit a side road, when we copy this, we're gonna see that all the controls are just called to _2 for screen _2. So basically they're gonna be unique without doing a lot of strange things where you don't know on which screen they are. So a little bit consistency. Okay, let's delete that. So we have a UserForm, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna make the UserForm bigger to the whole area we want to use for the UserForm. And then we're gonna select the group, and we're gonna insert another group, and we're gonna call this to the UserForm, let's call this base _1. And also this one I'm gonna drag to the corner and make exactly the same size as my group where I put in my user base group. So now I have a group, and in the group I'm gonna put a label. and I'm gonna make the label bigger, and this gonna be my like back layer for my UserForm. So let's call this UserForm layer .1, and this layer I want to give another color, so let's make it dark gray and make it a little bit transparent by, instead of 1, put 1.9 here, so we see the controls laying behind it, but we aren't able to use it. Now you see the left on the text, and I want to use this text maybe later on when I use this layer to give a information screen. So this is going to be a user form and also an information screen if we need one. So let's first put the text in the top, and then in the center give it a white color, a bigger font. Let's say we want to have 18. I don't like it so far in the top, so I give it a padding of 15. And for now I think it's fine. Okay, let's underscore it, because later this gonna be our title, and now it's text, but later we gonna add a variable to this screen. And let's start with that. So let's take our first button and go to the onSelect statement and do an update context UF show, let's call it like this, and say this has to be 1. So we ain't gonna use a boolean, we're gonna use a number to control our user form. And why a number? You will see it when we go to this screen. We can say we want to show this UF show 2, and on the third button we're gonna do UF show 3, and the last one you would say 4, but we ain't gonna use 4. We're gonna give this a 9, and you will see in a minute why I give this a 9. So this is okay, this is okay, and this is okay. Let's add to the screen, add a small label. And this label won't do anything, but let's call this like a UF show value, because we want to say this should just say what the UF show is, and this is purely so we can see what is happening. So let's click this one with the Alt, and then we see 1, 2, 3, 9. So we see our variable changing here. Let's say we want to make this an information screen, and let's add a variable here. So let's call it UF layer, and it's gonna be a title. This is our, or let's just call it information. I think that's fine. So let's say this shouldn't be the text, but it should be UF layer title. And now this gonna be empty, but let's click the third one, and then we have a title for our information. Okay, nice. Let's put over this as an extra layer like a information text box, which is right beneath the information button, and take the rest. So put this in the center, make this white. Let's say we want to have this 12, and put it to the top. So here we're gonna show information if we want to, and let's right away do that. And let's make a variable like and let's call it information. Let's call it a frame. Text. Let's call it frame text. Let's say we have a back layer, and over that we have frames, and this is the text for a frame. And let's say here is some information. And let's take this variable and make this the text input for our new made variable. So when we now click the vert, we see information, and here is some information. So we can show some information to our customer or users if we want to. And let's rename this UF, and let's call it information 1. And then, okay, let's better just say information text, so we have some consistency in the way we build our variables, and put this variable here and click it one more time to see if it works. Okay, this is nice. Now when we have an information button, we need a control to exit this. So it's not a cancel or submit control, but it's just like a cancel icon. Let's put it here right in the corner. Rename this one UF exit, because it's just gonna exit and not cancel anything, but just exit. And say we want to give this a padding of, let's say 12, so we get a nice small button, and make this white. And let's do nothing on this moment. So we have a button to later exit our information for. Now let's select our frame and say we want to add another label. Put this like in the middle and make this a nice frame. Put it right in the middle. Say we want to fill it with white. We want to give it a nice, let's say an orange border. It has to be 2. And let's see how it looks. So we have a nice UserForm frame, and here we can put our controls in. I find it a little bit big, so I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. Well, I think that's a nice area for our controls and some buttons. Now you see a text here, so let's make this a frame title by doing it in the center, give it 14. Let's say it has to be semi-bold, and we want to put it in the top and give it just an extra padding of 5/10, so it's a little bit besides there. I don't like it black, so let's make it gray, the same as the frame backend. And this is okay, I think. So now let's make a variable for this, and let's do it here. So here we have a frame, and this is going to be our frame title. This is our first user form. And let's take this variable and use it for the text input here in the frame. So let's now click 1. We see information. Here is some information. This is our first user form. So this works. Now we want to be able to cancel our frame and to submit the things we're gonna do in this particular user form. Let's first rename this before we forget it. Frame 1. This is gonna be our frame, and we could also say this is frame 1, because maybe we will later on want to add another frame which is a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller based on the user forms we're gonna make. And let's just call it frame, because we can call the other one frame 1 or frame 2 or whatever. So now select our group and say we want to insert a button. Let's drag the button here. I don't like the radius, so let's put it to 0 and say this is gonna be a cancel button. Cancel. And let's rename this to UF cancel.1. So we have a cancel button, and let's say on this cancel button we gonna say this is gonna update our context. Our user form show is gonna set to 0. Let's put the user form frame title to blank. UF of information text to blank, and the UF layer title to blank. So basically we set all our variables to blank when we say cancel, and let's see if it works. This is gonna be 0, this all gonna be empty, but we still see our user form. So let's do something with that, because now we have a cancel button. And let's go to the main group, and this is a little bit because of the issue I told in the previous video, that when we have a label and we have controls behind it, we can't use the controls anymore. So we basically want to make the whole group where all the user forms are in visible when we need a user form, and unvisible when we don't need a user form. And let's go to the visible property, and here say UF show has to be bigger than 0. So when it's 0 it's not visible, and on this moment it's 0. And as soon we click a button, it's going to be visible. And this is our user form. So you see there is no layer title, there is no information text, there is only a user form. And when we deselect it and select the second one, we see there is no title either. But when we take the third one, this is information. And now we have to control that the frame is not visible when we do this, but we're gonna do it in just 1 minute. We're first gonna do some other things. So let's copy this cancel button and put it right beneath here, make it a little bit bigger, and let's call it submit. And here in our left list we're gonna say this is gonna be a submit button 01. Then on the select we ain't gonna do an update. We going to do something, and after we did something, and maybe we're gonna do this at another place later, but for now this is gonna be okay. And just say we want to select the UF cancel 1 when we push this button. So if we push this button, we are basically gonna select cancel, and we're gonna close this. And let's do a little bit the same for our exit button, because the exit button is also to reset everything we're doing. And sometimes we want to do maybe something extra, but basically we're gonna do the same with the accent button as it with a cancel button, only without submitting something. So let's look if this works. So when we go in and we submit, it's gonna close. When we go in with a second and say cancel, it closes. If we're gonna go in the third and we do the exit, it closes also. So this works still now, but our form isn't ready, because let's say when we click a button, we have a frame and we want to be able to go to a next frame. Then say, okay, do you really want to do it like information? If we are going back, we want to go back, or we want to go on. So we want to go to the previous screen, or we want to go further to the next screen. Let's make some button for this so you see what I mean. So we're gonna put in icons for that, and we're gonna put a left icon in. Let's put it in the middle and give this also a padding of 12, maybe 14. Let's do 14, and maybe make the right a little bit more, like 20, the left 8, so it's a little bit to the left. Okay, I think it's nice like this. So we have a left button, and let's call it UF previous .1. Okay, let's insert another button, only a right one. Say the padding is 14 in the top, 14 in the bottom. The left have to be between 1, 3 and the right have to be 8. So it's basically gonna be the same as the other one, only opposite. And let's call this UF next .1. And I think now we basically got our controls for our base, all the controls we ever gonna need to submit something, to say we want to do something, and first go to another screen with some information if you really want to do it, and then go on. And we can use also this to show more information if you want to. So I think we have everything. Now let's do some logic on the controls. So first the next, let's start with that, and let's go to the visible property. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say this UF show has to be in, and after in I can make like an array or a table, and I could give more numbers as an input. In this case I'm gonna do 9, because basically I think I ain't gonna use 9 very fast, and if I do so, it's early enough to change this and say 9 has to be in or not, and then probably I have some other values already put in here. So basically you can say I want to show it at variable 2 and 9, and now when the variable is 2, let's show that it's gonna show, and when it's 1 it ain't gonna show, and when it's 9, and that's why the last one I put it on 9 so I can see all my controls again, it's gonna show again. But let's for now say this has to be only 9, because we don't know when we're going to use it. And here we're gonna do exactly the same. So again our variable, and has to be in 9. So one by one this is going to be not visible again. So let's say our information screen visibility has to be UF show in 9. and it's gonna be not visible. We ain't gonna do that for the exit, and we ain't gonna do it for our frame, because basically we want to use our frame in our first variable. So let's do it like that. So we first gonna look at the cancel button, and we're gonna say the UF show has to be in 1. So because it's 1, it's gonna be visible. The submit button, and basically let's change this to a dark nice green, so submit is good. So when we put the green button, it's gonna be submitted, and we are agreed to put something on our database or to change something. Okay. For the submit button, now basically it's just gonna show when there is a opportunity to cancel, because else you don't have to ask it and you can just do it right away. So let's say this has to be visible, and we're gonna reference another control. So when we say UF cancel 1 dot visible, if this is visible, the submit button has to be visible, and when not, we don't want to have the submit button to be visible. The opposite is the case for the exit button. We want to be able to close our user form, whether it's an information form or whether it's a frame. So we need one of those two controls to do so. Let's say here for now we want to say this is not the same as the UF cancel 1 dot visible. So when it's visible, this is hidden, and when it's not visible, this is visible to cancel and to close our user form. Okay, nice. Now let's do the same for our frame. So again, the visibility, and also here we gonna do exactly the same. Show is in 1, and let's put in 9, because then 9 will show everything. And maybe we should also do that in a cancel button, that we just gonna put 9 in as like a admin number for now. So 9 gonna show all or only the information, or a frame with a cancel and submit button. So I think we put all our variables we want to have on our base form. Let's put in a user form. So now this is 1, so this is our first user form, and let's create a user form. So we're gonna do basically the same. We're gonna make a group, and normally I would do my group like this, only as I said, a group is blocking all the controls beneath them, so we have to be smart and make it like this, so it ain't gonna block the controls we maybe have to use. Let's rename this group to UF 1.1, so UserForm 1, and maybe just say we want to copy this and want to paste this and make another group, rename this to UF 2.2, and put it at the same area. Now let's scroll, say here on the visibility, the UF show should be equal, and this we can say equal because we only want to show this particular group when it's 1. And maybe the second one, UserForm, we only want to show, oh, let's go to the visibility here, and it's 2. So first 1, and our first control is visible, and let's put in a label there, another label just right beside it. We gonna use a combo box to here, and we're gonna use a text input. And of course this could be all the combinations of controls you want. And let's say for the second one we want to have a label and a user button, and let's see what we have now. Click the second one, we have a button, extra button to do something. We have a text, and we have a list box, for example, a list box. Now you see the frame is not visible, so at the base we should do something what we want to show. So we want to show our frame, so let's put in the 2 here. So there's our frame, and let's say we want to go to a next screen just to show you how we can build this. So we have our user form, we can exit it, and we can go to a next screen. And I'm gonna show you right away how the next screen could work, how this logic will work. Now I see we have information, and why is that? Probably because when we cancel it, we aren't resetting the right thing. So the U of layer, when we click this one, put on select, let's see if there's something wrong. Frame title, layer title, information. So when we click this and we go here, then we only have a frame and the user. If we want to have our frame to have a name, we can say UF frame title. So you see, making new forms gonna be very easy. If we have another button, just copy a form, put some controls in it, and connect it to the parameters we want to give them. So this is okay, second screen. Let's click it, and we have a second screen. So I think this is nice. Now let's do something here, and let's go to the onVisible property. So we know this variable is now 2. Let's use a switch statement and take the UF show, say when it's 2. I want to update context. UF show gonna be 3, or let's do it 4 because just we can, and say we want to have a UF frame title, and say this is the 4th screen. And of course I have to close this formula. So let's click that, and we see everything is gone. So we can go to our frame again, say we want to show our frame at 4. We see our title, 4th screen. We could have a copy paste, so a new user screen here, do this away and say we want to say something here. Whatever, text whatever, and rename this user. Oh, this is the wrong one. Let's rename this UserForm 4.1 and say you have to be visible when you are 4. So now we have text. We could say this should be visible with 4 because we want to go back. Then on select, say a switch UF show. Let's say when it's 4, we want to update context. Do UF show back to 2 and UF frame title back to the second screen. So let's, of course we could do the right button also, or we can say the cancel button has to be visible on screen 4 because now we want to submit something. We can go to the submit function and say we have an on select. Here we want to do something. Let's say we do a switch here also. Show comma, close the formula, say at 1 we want to update context. Let's make a simple text and say this is screen 2. At the end other comma, let's say 4, we want to go back and then we want to update context UF sample text again. And of course we can put in a trigger here on events or formulas or whatever we want to add here as a logic to do when we are at screen 4. So let's at last or whatever say we want to copy this. Let's edit in the corner and say this has to be the sample text. And let's see if it works. So when we submit it, this is screen 4. When we go to the first one and we submit it, this is screen 2. This was screen 1, but okay, I said submit has to be screen 2. When you are 1, and we can go to the second screen, go to the fourth screen, go back to the second screen, etc. Exit it. So I think basically we did most of the logic, or at least all the logic you need to understand this behavior. So what we did, we make a group UserForms. In the group we make a base UserForm, like a back layer with a layer with an information, text information, with titles for the layer, and the frame with a frame, cancel and submit buttons with a next and previous button and the exit button. In top of that we're gonna build our UserForms. And basically when we build our UserForms, we only want to use them when we need really a frame, because at the other end, when we just want to give information, we basically can use the base screen and put the information in. As easy as that. So you seen this is very easy. The only thing which is a little bit a hassle with the groups is that a group is not transparent. So when you don't put a label in, then the controls are clickable, which are behind the group, as it's supposed to be. But for the rest, I think this is a nice workaround to make just a logic build of your user forms and reuse it in every screen you need and in every app probably. So I hope you enjoy this and you learned something about it, and really thank you for watching. This brings us to the end of this video. Again, if you enjoyed this video, then subscribe to my channel and get a notice on other videos I'll be posting. And of course, like and share the video, so other people who want to learn PowerApps will be able to find it and use it in their quest. My name is Paul Kroon, and I hope you learned something today. For now, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.